beating me up. It's not cool.
You know, I'm just so glad the descriptions are up there. I was worried they wouldn't be able to tell who is the marketing dork and who is the badass former FBI guy. Thank you all for sticking around. It's been a great day, and we're excited for this session on deception, negotiation, control, and the FBI tactics to lead all of us to success, not just you.
Cool.
A lot of lessons that we can learn from everybody. And so you heard the intro already. We have somebody with more experience than all of us combined when it comes to living in very tough environments and fighting your way, keeping your head and making sure that you're getting out of a situation what you need to be successful, which is something we could all relate to. And so I'll stop talking and I'll kick it over to you to give the Scott Payne story and get everybody comfortable with who you are.
Cool. Hello, everybody. So, story for me. 28 years of law enforcement. I'm a South Carolina guy, born and raised, but I'm in East Tennessee now. That's home. But I was a real cop first, Greenville County Sheriff's Office, uniform patrol, vice and narcotics. And that's where I started getting that undercover bug on the street level stuff. And then in '98, I got hired by the FBI, and my first office was here in New York City, 26 Fed. I was assigned here on 9/11, but actually the day of 9/11, I was undercover in San Antonio, Texas. So as soon as I could get on a commercial flight and fly back, I came back and helped work the ground zero and stuff too. But yeah, went from New York to the border of Mexico, McAllen, Texas, worked there for 6.5 years and retired out of Knoxville.
Well, you left a little bit out.
Slightly, yeah.
And I'm excited for you to share it in a way that I know the people are going to get excited about. I'm going to ask some questions just like the rest of the day. Please send them through, and we'll filter on some down towards the end of the session as well. But for the group, in your experience, what one lesson do you take away from your career that you would say, this applies to anybody? I went through this, and I know that everybody could learn from that.
For me, that's probably going to be being able to talk to people. At the end of the day, I know technology is great and it helps, but it's an extra. At the end of the day, you need to be able to sit down with somebody and have a conversation with them and obtain information, if that's what you're trying to get. Sell them whatever you're trying to sell them, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And do you have any examples of a time that you had to, we'll just say, read the room and react accordingly? Maybe you had great data, you had great intel, you had a great team behind you, but in that moment, you were faced with something and you had to respond, or things could have gotten bad.
I think I know what you're talking about. You're leading to the basement? Yeah?
Maybe.
So, teamwork. I'll just tell you from an FBI standpoint, or from an investigator standpoint, and just say I'm the undercover. It's a team. It takes a village. Like, I'm the one going in by myself, usually. I might have another undercover sometimes, but usually it's me and I'm on my own. But everything that happens before that and is happening during that is teamwork. The more intelligence that team can give me about this potential target who I'm going to go bump into, the more I can set myself up for success and not failure. In other words, if I know that this guy loves to be the center of attention and likes to be surrounded by big dudes, I can use that, right? That's probably, we could take that a little farther, couldn't we? Don't ask what I had to do. We'll say that part's classic.
There's a cocktail hour after.
Yeah, cocktail, yeah, that's for the after
Follow-up
hour.
question.
Yeah, after hour. Get a couple in me, I'll tell you everything. But yeah, so it takes a team, and like, or if something as simple as like, I've gone down to meet somebody, a team, and they wanted me to be the undercover, and I get there, and after they give me the brief on everything, I'm like, you don't really have a lot. I mean, I said, I'll go bump this person, but you got a 50-50 shot. I would rather you follow this person around and find out something as simple as, hey, they go to that Starbucks every morning, and that's where they get their coffee every morning, every day. It's good to know. That guy's a tattoo artist. Well, that's even better to know, because now I can be in line, and I can bump into this person. Hey, nice tats. Where'd you get them? Oh, I'm a tattoo artist. Oh, really? Well, I'm looking to get some new tattoos. Now we're in. We can start working things like that. But where I had to use it, well, I'll tell you. This is the story. Usually you say, hey, Scott, what was more scary or more disturbing? You killing a goat at a sacrifice ceremony where we drank its blood and almost everybody did acid? Not me.
Someone told that story earlier.
Did they?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
I think it was Mike Greenberg.
Oh, was he? Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew he looked familiar.
It's classic
I knew
issue.
he looked
yeah,
familiar.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait a minute. Is your code name Pestilence? Yeah, all right.
So was it that, or was it?
Or was it being stripped in the basement at gunpoint when you're wired to the hilt and they almost find it? I'm going to say the basement.
Okay.
Although the goat did taste terrible.
And what led to that situation in the basement, and then what led you out of that situation in the basement?
Okay, so I'll give you the quick down and dirty because I can tell the story from beginning to end, and I have on plenty of shows. But 2-year case in the Outlaw Motorcycle Club. This is at 1.5 years in. So 1.5 years in, I've already made some really good friends, technically. I'm undercover. But I've built some really good relationships. We have done all kinds of criminal activity together. It started with them reporting vehicles stolen. They get the insurance money. I'll buy the vehicle from them at a stolen price, which is usually around 20 to 25%. Because they believed I was carrying everything to Mexico, which is what happens. And so it was based on real stuff. And then it gets to the point to where they're stealing cars, and I'm buying them. Then it gets to the point to where they're carjacking people, taking them at gunpoint, telling me, hey, Tex, which is what they called me, Tex, we got to get rid of this thing. It's hot. So we've done all this stuff. They've been wanting to get into the dope game since the first time they met me, especially when they found out I was on the border. So at 1.5 years in, we had done a lot, and the FBI and the United States Attorney's Office said, hey, let's up the ante, let's do this drug deal. And maybe we'll get them to help protect it. And I laid all the breadcrumbs out, made it where it wasn't suspicious. Now they're going to get to meet my cartel contact because as a drug dealer, what do you want? I'm waiting for somebody to jump up and answer. Sucker. Now I got him. I'll tell you what you do, Scott. I heard. If you're a drug dealer, you want the purest dope you can get at the cheapest price you can get because that means you can step on it and make twice your money or 3 times your money. So if you find a good pipeline, i.e. the cartel, then that's good. So we were going to do, they didn't know it, but we had 40 kilos of real cocaine. This is around 2008. 40 kilos of cocaine, 1,000 pounds of marijuana. I know marijuana's not a big deal now, but in 2008 it still was, especially 1,000 pounds. That takes up a lot of space too, by the way. If you've never seen 1,000 pounds of weed, you're like, wow, that's a lot of weed. I mean, a lot.
I see an aggressive amount of note-taking, which is alarming right now.
I know.
A lot of post-career planning.
Listen, I'm going to go take care of burning all this stuff. Don't you guys worry, you know. So we were going to do that, but because we upped the ante, the night before, or salud, depends on where we're at. The night before the operation, I'm asked to come over to the clubhouse. Well, for those of you that don't know, in the 1%er world, there's a mandatory meeting every week, and they call it church. That's where they talk about club business, collect dues, and stuff like that. So they call me over. I get there. They're not ready. It's weird. There's some weird stuff going on. But I go inside, and I'm cracking jokes like I normally do. I'm Scott, the big jovial country guy, you know, unless I'm hired to kill somebody or something like that. Then I'm just a stone cold killer, and I don't need to build a rapport with you. I'm probably not even smiling.
No, as we can all relate, of course.
You know.
Yeah.
So my second closest relationship at that time was the enforcer in the Taunton, Massachusetts chapter, and his road name was Clothesline. And I go in there, and I'm cracking jokes, and I'm drinking Jack and Cokes. Cracking jokes, drinking Jack and Cokes.
That might be the next title of your next book.
Man, that's coming. That could be the song. That's good. Help me remember that later. So I'm sitting there drinking, and he says, yo, Tex, you got a minute? And I said, yeah. I've been in that clubhouse 20 or more times. There's only one door I'd never been in. And you're already moaning, I hadn't got there yet. Behind door number 1. So he opens the door, and as I'm following him in, another outlaw comes behind me. And I go, oh, it's not good, man. It's not good. Now, 1.5 years in, I'm fully wired. It's my job to go get the evidence. It's a very intrusive technique. It's a sophisticated investigative technique. So I'm wired. I had a audio video recording device, I had an audio recording device, and I had a transmitter. And when we go down into, if I call it a basement, that's being very generous, because I couldn't stand, I'm 6'4", but I couldn't stand up down there. It was more like a crawl space, very tight space, northeastern home. And we get down there, and he proceeds to tell me that I'm gonna use his words, hopefully, can I cuss a little bit?
I don't actually work for a ticket manager. I'm a hired gun, and I approve.
Okay. I'm not plagiarizing. I'm saying it the way it was. He says, hey, there's a lot of shit going on, and it's my job to take care of my brothers. I need you to write down your full name, your date of birth, your social, your address, your wife's names. Wife's name. Oh, wait. I can feel my face getting red. Sorry, hon. And my daughters too. But he says, I'm not going to ask you your wife's name. It's not like your kids' names, but it's not like we can't find that out. Well, now I'm having the adrenaline dump. If you've ever had adrenaline dump, and I think most probably everybody has. It could be something where anything traumatic to you. If you've been in a car wreck, everything slows down. You feel like it does, right? It really doesn't. But an adrenaline dump is you get auditory exclusion. Everything you hear is going in waves. It's like whoosh, whoosh, it slows down. So if I'm talking to you and you're having the adrenaline dump, what you're hearing is, hey, Scott, how are you? You also get time dilation. Everything you see is in screen grabs. It's going click, click, click. You feel your heart beating through your entire body. Me personally, my hamstrings get really rubbery. So I'm having an oh crap moment. And because of that stress, I forgot my middle name. I've been that dude forever. I made it, I know it, but because of the stress, I lost it. And this goes into you needing to know your mission, know your role, know what you need to know about your job and what it is you're trying to accomplish. And I did a distraction technique. I don't even know I did that. I go, what else do you need? I know this because I've seen the video like, I don't know, 1,000 times now, but I go, what else do you need? My name and what else? I have no idea I did it. That comes from reps. That comes from doing what ifs in your head to have contingencies and to plan for when things could go south or not go the way you want to. And then I remembered my middle initial was A, which made my initials SAC, which is the head of an FBI office. I thought that was funny because I knew I'd never be one. So I remember my name, I write it down. Now I'm taking off all my clothes. So I take all my upper body clothing off, I take my boots off, I drop my underwear and jeans down around my ankles. So from ankles up, birthday suit. And, again, had I not been wired, it'd just been an embarrassing situation, getting naked in front of two men, which, by the way, I didn't say this. They had already brandished their pistols, and they told me I wasn't free to leave. They had me at gunpoint, and the one dude stayed on the steps. He was just like hanging on the steps watching, so I'm not free to leave. I did see rope. I was looking for plastic on the floor, and for those of you that don't know, in this type of environment and that type of world and that type of underbelly, if you see plastic on the floor, it's probably because you're getting ready to get killed. And that way all the blood's contained you grab four corners, you don't have to use Clorox and all that, they just scoop you up. Good stuff, right? Y'all with me?
Yeah, next time we're having a bad day.
Yeah, I know. You walk in, yeah. Hey, I walked in the room the other day, my wife had plastic on the floor, Maybe you need to bring home some roses or something, I don't know. So he checks me thoroughly, I'm naked, and then he's like, okay, now I think we're done. I'm pulling my pants back up, I get them up, and now I'm coming out of that adrenaline dump. I'm like, okay, now I'm coming back down, starting to hear better, starting to see better, and then he grabs a piece of clothing. And then that piece of clothing was one of my recording devices. And he's grabbing it and he's doing this. He's kneading it with his fingers and going up and down it. And he asked me, he says, hey, I'm not going to find anything here I don't want to, right? Now, you got to understand, now I'm back in another oh crap moment. Now my diction's even terrible. Like I'm talking through my nose, I'm like, oh no, I hope not, except it's a lot higher. I'm more like, I don't know, I hope not, because my throat's tightening up. And I'm watching him go through this piece of clothing, and he's getting close. And I know that if he's doing this, he's going to feel something in a spot where you probably wouldn't feel it in any other piece of clothing. And I don't know I do it, but you can hear clearly on the recording me go, because I don't know what I'm going to do. Even if I was tough enough, or by the grace of whoever you believe in, I was able to beat them and make it out of that basement. Upstairs, I've still got 10 more outlaws with a heavily fortified door with metal hooks welded on it, with a metal bar across it, and because they just got through having church. So it's like, you're not, I don't know what you're going to do. If it would have been plastic, I probably would have fought. But anyway, he gets right next to it, even looks at the pinhole camera, and it stopped. He missed it. And then I'm coming out of that adrenaline dump again, but because I'm a jokester, it's also used as a defense mechanism, and I start cracking jokes like, hey, at least I didn't wear white underwear, kind of thing, you know? But he said, man, it's really scary. And he even told me during that time, he said, trust me, man, if somebody accused me of being an effing Fed, I'd probably smash them in the mouth. And I immediately said, I'm not happy. So this is coming to that negotiation thing that'll help you. Even though my words weren't saying it, what my face was saying to him is, tell me I'm okay. And what his face was saying back to me is, this is just normal procedure. You're going to be all right. But he didn't know that I was wired and I was an undercover FBI agent. So I make it out of that. I get out that night when I turned in my equipment. Well, let me say this. Everybody always asks me, what would you have said if he found it? I had two things, and I remember just like it was yesterday. My first response, because he threw that bone, if he would have said, what is this? I would have said, I don't know, some pictures of your lady. Try to buy me some time. Maybe we laugh it off. Never mind, I'll take my pants back off, you know. But the only other thing I had to say was, the gig is up. I'm an undercover FBI agent, and I can walk out of here and we can see each other in court, or all hell's gonna break loose. Problem was, it would have been a bluff, because every time I'd been in that clubhouse, my cover team could never hear me. Whether it was the equipment, the placement, whatever, they could never hear me. So I knew I was on my own. So that night when I handed off my equipment, what I found out is the two task force officers who were covering me at the beginning of that shift, they thought something was weird the way that first interaction happened. They had pulled close enough, they heard everything. They suited up, I mean vest, and they were already armed, but they put their vest on and everything. They had both, on local stuff, been in that clubhouse. They knew about the metal bar across the door and all this stuff. Their plan, if they heard me needing it, or they decided it's time, they were gonna drive their van into the wall around the door to breach the wall. Probably would have killed me because I was in the basement, but you know, it's a plan. Reverse.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks a lot, guys. Back it up. So they were listening to everything. They called Boston and say, they got Scott in the basement. He's wired, and they're looking for it. And what they told me is that everybody was coming blue lights and siren. Now, I will tell you that the case agent, who was a buddy of mine, we went through Quantico together in '98. He come in and he goes, Scott, when I was driving down that highway with the blue lights and sirens on, I felt like I was in there with you. And I said, you weren't.
Yeah.
Trust me, I was looking for any friendly face I could find.
Sure.
Oh, lifeline, call a friend, anything you got. So a lot of people, I'll end it with this, and then we'll go to the next question. And this may apply to you, it may not, but this is a part of the story that's pretty crazy for me. I passed that off. At that point in time, when in my life, me and my wife, our daughters were like 3 and 1 at that time. I bought her what's commonly referred to as a burner phone now. So it comes back to nothing. So I could call her from my undercover phone. I called her every night when I was done, whether it's 5 in the morning, 7 in the morning with these guys drinking all night. I'm like, hey, baby, love you, I'm done. I'm heading to the hotel. I'll call you after I wake up. Usually it's really quick. Love you too, thanks, talk to you later. That night when I called her, the first thing she said is are you okay? And I said, yeah, why? And she said, I don't know, but at such and such time, I was in McAllen driving around with our girls, running errands, and she said, I got this overwhelming feeling of fear, and I pulled over on the side of the road and started praying for you. I matched it up. It's when I was in the basement. So I don't know how that ties into your ticket
we should have saved it for the end, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But we're going to circle back for just a second here. And look, we all have our versions of tough situations. That one probably a little bit more dramatic than most. what you learned from
You guys
that.
don't get naked at ticket sales? Sell me the ticket.
Yeah. I heard it not that way, which you're banned from the cocktail hour. Whoever said that.
I just want to make sure you're not a snitch or a fit.
So for this audience, and really for any audience, you must have learned countless lessons from that. I heard you mention contingencies.
Yes.
I heard you mention some defense mechanisms that were natural to your character that you were able to use to deflect. Anything else so that the next time you were in that situation, what did you take away so that any of us, the next time we're in a tough business, professional, whatever the circumstance is, how do you learn from that coming down from such a traumatic and dramatic situation?
I think there's a lot of ways I could take that and answer it, but I think the quick answer is you need to know what your role is, what your mission is, and what your policies are. And once you got that down, now, like in the tactical world, I can take you out on the range and we can train all day, every day. We call it you bleed on the range so you don't die in the street. And you're gonna do it physically so it becomes instinctive. So when you have an oh crap moment, Lord forbid if you are in a shootout or something, you're not gonna remember how many bullets you shot. You're not gonna know you did a magazine exchange, but you do it. In the undercover world, which is probably gonna be more like what you would have to do is what ifs. I don't care if you've got to sit down and if you're dealing with people who lie to you and steal from you, then use those use opportunities you can to role play and maybe what ifs in your head. Like if I'm walking into a bank, I'm like, what would I do if somebody comes in that door to rob it right now? All that's doing is giving me reps in my head, so that if something does happen, I'm not hesitating, I'm not flinching, I'm going right to that.
Yeah.
So that's your preparation, and you got to have contingencies. You got to. In every ops plan we do, case, running a source, me doing an undercover, what if I got pulled over and locked up?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to blow the case, but I need to have another undercover in town who can come bail me out, something like that. Have a contingency.
Well, I think it does actually tie very nicely back to this audience and the folks at Ticket Manager, not to plug it too hard, but systems and processes and procedures in place so that you're protecting yourself in advance prior to trying to figure it out on the fly later on.
Yeah, well, we're talking like when we talked in the green room, which is not green. You can Google it. I mean, I don't know why they call it green room, but anyway. Actually, I do. I Googled it. But like Uvalde, it's horrific. Robb Elementary, it was horrific what happened. But because of the lack of prep and the lack of training, first of all, you had a cop that showed up, had a chance to shoot the target, radioed his chief to find out if it was okay to shoot. Are you effing kidding me? You don't know your deadly force policy? But now, that's not the time to figure it out. You need to know what you can and can't do and be prepared to do it. You had, I think at one point, 18 officers in a hallway saying, that's a barricaded subject. Well, it's sad. A lot of people died that didn't need to, a lot of kids. But it changed all of our training now, because what we're saying is if there's somebody shot 19 minutes ago, if you got shot 19 minutes ago and we haven't heard another gunshot, which is what happened there, they're like, oh, it's a barricaded subject, so we got to set up and wait for SWAT. If you were actively dying, that's still an active shooter event. We got to go. We got to push. So that's what I mean by knowing your policies and stuff.
Yeah. Well, backing up just a little bit, one of the stories throughout the day tied into your world is what's happening with the NBA and the FBI raid, and it's developing. Yeah, it's wild. Is that why you're in town?
Yeah. Actually, I'm still undercover. My name's not Scott.
Rip the mask up.
Yeah, I know.
So
I'm Tom Cruise. Yeah, Mission Impossible.
You had mentioned in your story that was a year and a half into a 2-year-long process for you. So, the things that we are seeing today and, people being arrested and offices being raided, how long does it typically take to get to that point? We just see the Chiron running on ESPN, but this is something that I imagine has been happening for a while. Yeah,
I would imagine this case, especially when you got search warrants and all those simultaneous searches and arrests going on, it's not an overnight thing. My career, first of all, I was a case agent first. That's all I was required to be. All the other stuff, SWAT, defensive tactics, undercover, that's all collateral duty. This book is about the undercover stuff, but as a case agent, most of my cases were longer term. I did more like enterprise type investigations. I would imagine that's what this is. I would imagine when things start coming out with the affidavits and stuff, you're probably going to see that there were wiretaps used. That is not like TV. You can't say, I need you on this phone in 12 hours. We might be able to track something if we lost somebody and we're trying to recover a phone, but you can't be listening to them. I mean, it's like an 80-page affidavit. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But I would imagine we would see that. We're probably going to see some sources of information reporting stuff. You might even see an undercover. So an undercover operation in the FBI is approved for 6 months, and then at the end of that 6 months, you have to re-up it. But it's going to take time to build it. It wouldn't surprise me if that's a 1.5 year case.
Wow. Well, it would certainly be fascinating to continue to follow. And on that theme of, we'll just say, illicit
Do you not make enough money? I just had to throw that in there. Do you not make enough money?
Yeah, $5-10 million a year, I think I could get by.
I mean,
Yeah, I'll make a call. So a lot of these things start with, a rock, not a boulder. And in our world, and a lot of the folks out here dealing with tickets or use of these high-end experiential opportunities, whether it's going to a suite, meeting an athlete, whatever it may be, when you work with your colleagues and they're requesting tickets, sometimes it can feel a little funky. Like, are we sure that this person's going to use this, right, for the right reasons?
Oh, okay. I got you.
And I'm curious for you, where do you start seeing red flags in people's behavior and the way that they talk to you? How do you start to say, this doesn't feel right? And when do you kind of cross that line of, I'm going to do something about it or ask, rather than just have this nagging feeling?
Well, first of all, I hear a lot of people, or I see a lot of times, oh, he's looking up and to the left. That means he's lying. No, it doesn't. You need to know my baseline. You need if you ask me a question and I'm thinking and I go like this, that's my baseline. But if you get to know them better and you get to see that baseline, for instance, the task force officers in the van listening to me in that basement, they knew that I was scared because I sounded nothing like I normally sound, right? Then if you know the baseline and you see these odd ticks or, something, it'll start coming out. There's interrogation techniques too where I can sit closer to you, and like square off to you and stuff like that.
I think that's probably less on the table for this group, but.
Just saying. But I would just say getting to know that person and maybe following up, but ask. I'm a transparent person. That's the way I live my life, man.
So that's a great question. How much of it is about what they do say versus what they don't say versus how they say it?
You're just going to have to follow. I mean, you would have to see what happens, right? Do you have a way to track that, to see what they did with those tickets? I don't know if you guys can do surveillance on people, but yeah. I mean, no, don't go out there and start tagging everybody and, piping in the phones because that's illegal. But yeah, I would just say, for me, I would just have to get to know them. I'm a people person. I love connecting with people, and I can see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and to that point, I think that we're all in a business of relationships.
Yes.
And working with people, no matter what the currency of your realm may be. How did you primarily go about developing those relationships? You talked about finding individual things, whether it was tattoos or music, whatever it may be. Did you have core things that you would go to that we can all learn from in terms of developing that relationship and making sure it's as transparent as you want it to be? Maybe not fully transparent.
Well, yeah, especially when you're undercover, right? I know, right? Hi, I'm Scott, undercover FBI agent. Are you guys doing anything criminal? I was just wondering. I don't know. With me, I'm just trying to be personable. I try to find, okay, if I'm undercover, and I'm, like I said earlier, with the guy Spanky, we knew that he liked to be the center of attention. We knew that he loved to be surrounded by big guys. So I'm a bigger dude. I put myself on the other side of the bar. I'm befriending people like I do in every town, like I did here last night at a bar I was at. And then that made him look at me. I need to know, I try to find something that will help me connect with them. You know, what do they like? It may be something I don't like, but I can show interest in it just to help connect with people.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine balancing sort of, you know, real Scott versus, you know, the presented Scott can be a bit of a emotional roller coaster. And so something that we can all relate to in some capacity. How do you deal with the mental health aspect of things? How do you, you know, keep yourself throughout?
I didn't do a great job in the beginning. I go into great detail in the book about it, but I pushed myself too hard. And I found my threshold one day, and I physically and mentally crashed. I slept like over 20 hours the first day, probably over 16 hours the rest of the week, and then I self-reported, you know. You have to, everybody's got their own individual thing. I will tell you that I got to a point, because I'm a workaholic by nature. I get it honestly from my parents. There was a point where one of the questions that on the psychological eval we would do if you're an undercover is open-ended sentences. And it says, the last time I relaxed, and you're supposed to type an answer. I had nothing. I looked down at it and I went, what do I do to relax? I was like, well, I work out all the time. I'm like, but that's not, I mean, I'm not like namaste listening to Yanni. I'm like trying to throw plates across the gym, you know? And I just made up a story. I knew it was wrong. It was a red flag, but I ignored it. My minor's psychology. 2 more classes, I'd had a double major. But I ignored it because I was using that warrior mentality. And I bit the dust. So you have to find ways for you to decompress. I get it. Like sometimes my job might require me to be 72 hours with very little sleep, running and gunning, doing operations. But at the end of that 72 hours, take time for yourself. Find something that grounds you. I started figuring out things like, hey, you know, I like laying out by the pool with no music and just listening to the birds. That's cool. All right. That's relaxing number one. You know, just you have to take care of yourself. Because for me, there's no job important enough for you to lose yourself, your family, your marriage, for the job.
I think that's well practiced.
The work will always be there.
Because you seem like you're doing great, and I think we can all agree this has been a pretty fascinating glimpse into a life that only a few of us ever get to really see. So we're going to do a couple of giveaways, but I want to thank Scott for his time. A great show.